This is Danielle Harris, and you are listening to Rock Video Rental.
Welcome back, everybody, to Rock Video Rental. We are continuing on with our Halloween series marathon, and today we're going to be talking about Halloween H20, 20 years later. It's from 1998 and is directed by Steve Miner. Miner, I hardly know it. That's what I always think of, Michael Scott, every time I see the name Miner. Funny thing, before I get into the plot here, Steve Miner also directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3.
Oh, okay.
If you didn't know that. So the plot for this one is Laurie Strode, now the dean of a Northern California private school with an assumed name, must battle the shape one last time, as if her own son and her life hang in the balance. Cast for this one is Jamie Lee Curtis returns as Laurie Strode / Carrie Tate. Josh Hartnett as John. Adam Arkin as Will. Michelle Williams as Molly. Adam Hayen-Bird as Charlie. Jodie Lynn O'Keefe as Sarah. Janet Leigh as Norma. And LL Cool J as Ronnie. So this one, we get like a cold open, I guess, where
Is this like the first one without like a recap?
I think so, or at least in a while.
Yeah.
So Michael Myers basically like ransacks Dr. Loomis's house in Illinois, and he like finds, or like who lives there now is like Marion Chambers, who's like in the first movie for all of like 2 minutes. And she basically took care of Dr. Loomis until he died. He like kills her and kills like these 2 teenage kids, and he finds out that Laurie is now, she actually isn't dead, and she's living in California. And of course now Michael's on his way because he's even better driver than he was in the first one because he can drive cross country. The dude drives from Illinois to California
In like a day.
Yeah. Does he? I would love to see like the gas station where he stops and buys gas. He's just like leaning on a car.
So it's Halloween. Don't worry about the mask.
Yeah. There's a reason for all this. I'm really not like Myers. I got this mask on sale.
Yeah, I did think about how basically he drove cross country in a day. So, but then also, did they do any reference? I can't remember of like why it had been so long. Like he was just hiding,
I guess. Well, there's no connection between this one and anything after part 2.
Yeah.
So this is like technically like a redone part 3.
Okay,
Just
that's
20 years he's just gonna hang it out in his parents' basement playing Sega.
and then all of a sudden he's like, wait a minute. Did she really die in a car accident?
He's just down in the basement smoking weed with his friends, and he's like, wait a minute, man. What if Laurie Strode isn't dead? And he's like, I gotta go to Loomis's house and try to find where she's at now, man.
Yeah, I haven't killed anybody in a while, and it feels like I need to get that off my shoulder.
So basically, like, we see Laurie now, and she's going by the name Carrie Tate. She's basically in witness protection, and she's trying to like get over this whole thing that happened with Michael, but she still has visions of him, and she's dealing with it by drinking a lot. Like basically, she's like a functioning alcoholic, as her son says. And like the plot says, she's like the head of this fancy private school that her son also attends. And yeah, she's basically a wackadoodle. And we get the cool security guard, which is played by LL Cool J, who this was like, I think this was one of his first like bigger movies. But honestly, he doesn't do that bad of a job.
Yeah, no, have you seen Mindhunters?
No,
He's in that, and he does. That's a decent movie, and he does a pretty good job in that.
cool. But I think the only other things I've seen him in were Rollerball, Woof, and Deep Blue Sea,
Oh gosh.
which was a pretty dumb movie, but he's pretty good in it. Um, so now it's like we all know that Michael's coming. We just have to wait for it now. So they're supposed to be taking this trip, like camping. Is that what it was?
I
And of
guess.
course, like John, who's Laurie's son, and like his girlfriend and his friend and his friend's girlfriend decide to stay back, and so they can spend time together and get into trouble like teenagers do. Um,
Darn kids.
and of course, this is when Michael decides to show up. That he starts like terrorizing everybody at this school. Um,
But there's like nobody there, so it's only like,
a handful of people,
yeah, I think it's only like
5 people.
seven people. I think the four kids, um, Jamie Lee Curtis and her fling, and
Yeah,
then LL Cool J.
yeah, yeah. Because even Norma leaves, the
Yeah.
old lady. Uh, but yeah, so Michael he's got to hunt down Laurie and attack her. And I mean, all the stuff at the beginning really isn't what you're here to see the movie. You're here to see like Laurie get her revenge, and that is handled really well.
Mm-hmm.
The whole last probably half hour of the movie is pretty solid. Um, then we get like the crazy chase with Michael and Laurie. We get like fighting and stuff, and like some cool stunts. Um, Jimmy Lee Curtis is like still got it as the final girl.
Yeah.
She's still the best in the series. She still might, her character of Laurie might be the best final girl in like any slasher movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's she's probably the best actress out of all the final girls.
Yeah, from everything I've seen and of what I'm aware of in the genre, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah. Um, and just I don't know, just going back and watching all these Halloween movies and then like seeing some of the other stuff with Jamie Lee Curtis, I've just really become a fan of hers. Just like, just of any movie that she's in. She's one of those people that like if she's in it, I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just started like seeking out other movies of hers because she just seems like a really like real and like honest, caring person. Just from what I've seen of her in interviews and the stuff that she puts like on social media and stuff, she seems like a real down to earth person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So
think I may have mentioned it in another episode, but I saw something, or maybe I heard about it on the radio about how, oh yeah, I heard about it on the radio. Maybe I didn't mention it. They were talking about celebrity interactions,
mhm.
and somebody said that they worked at an Apple store, and she showed up like early before the store opened,
Yeah,
but she still waited outside. She didn't like try to force her way in and be like, you should service me. And she waited with everybody. She acted like any normal customer, and she was like super polite and really nice to the staff. And they said they couldn't say enough nice things about her.
yeah, and it's really kind of surprising because she grew up as a celebrity because
Mm-hmm.
like both of her parents were actors, which I'll get at in some of the trivia and facts and stuff. But so we get like this whole crazy chase between Michael and Laurie, and it ends up with Michael falling off a balcony and going through a table. Um, and then she goes down there because she knows that like Michael's not dead because she's been through it twice now. This is her third time,
She's
and
the
she's
new
like,
Loomis.
yeah, I shot him 6 times. So she It's like, I'm gonna go finish this guy off. She grabs a knife out of Michael's hands and she's gonna stab him a bunch, and then LL Cool J comes in and like stops her, and the paramedics show up. They take Michael, and then while they're getting ready to load him up, Laurie like pulls a gun on the paramedic.
Total
And, like,
Loomis move.
yeah, total, like, she's become Dr. Loomis now. She's gone crazy. And she's like, load him up in there. And they load him in the ambulance, and she takes off with it. And she's driving like a bat out of hell and crashes the ambulance and essentially like pins Michael between something and like in the ambulance. And she gets out of there and she goes and talks to him. She's standing there and Michael's like reaching for her. And they have like this kind of moment together where a tear goes on her face because it's like, okay, this is my brother kind of thing. So you think she's going to show him some remorse. Then all of a sudden she grabs an axe and just hacks his head off. And it's just like one of the most satisfying endings. It's like, you know, Laurie finally can move on with her life. She knows now that Michael's dead. And it's just nice to see this character get like her vengeance. And she's the one that ends the whole thing.
Now, I do want to say that I am disappointed that there wasn't one of these movies that she unexpectedly showed up. Like,
Yeah.
I was, after Halloween 2, I was really hoping that one of these, it was going to come towards the end of the movie, then all of a sudden she was going to bust down the door and like stab Michael or something.
And say it's just been revoked.
Basically. But just from the standpoint of like, she's the only one who's been able to survive Michael.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, like, she's the sister, so there's like that special connection there.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to, you know, drive that home. But yeah, essentially they went from Halloween 2 to this, and you kind of missed out on that cool, unique opportunity. But
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. Yeah, I think even though that never really happened, I feel like this was a good way to kind of wrap up the series, because, you know, at the time it was like the planned finale for this series. And of course, we're not done doing reviews, so you know that it's not done.
what?
And yeah, the next one, it's a movie. Oh, we'll get to that next time. Some interesting things with this movie, not really trivia, but it's things I noticed. Did you notice the CGI mask that Michael has? It's during Charlie's death.
Okay.
And now that I'm talking about kills, I can kind of get into that, I guess. So there's only 7 in this movie, which kind of is similar to the first one. So there's Jimmy, who's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I know. I did not realize he was in it, and I was like, no, they killed Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
He gets a hockey skate to the face, which is great. His friend Tony gets stabbed in the back. Nurse Whittington gets her throat slit. Charlie gets his throat slit with a corkscrew somehow. That was a weird one.
Mm.
And that's where you see the CGI mask, which is atrocious. Now that I told you about it, you should go back and check it out, and you'll definitely notice it.
Well, I do remember a few times that the mask looked horrible, so I'm wondering if that was one of the times.
Yeah, I got more on that too. So there's Sarah. The elevator was dropped in her leg, and then she was stabbed multiple times. Will, who's Jamie Lee Curtis's boyfriend in this, gets stabbed in the back. And then Michael gets his head chopped off with an axe by Laurie.
But he's not dead.
Ding, 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 ding. So we talked about the mask being terrible. Man, the main mask is this. The eye holes are enormous.
Yes.
It's horrible. Like, the eye holes are bigger than Jason's mask. It just looks bad. And then there's other times where he looks like an alien. I think there was like 4 masks used in this. So there's the alien one, the huge eye hole one. There's the mask from part 6, which was great, was used at the beginning of the movie. Then they didn't like the looks of it, so they changed it. And then there's a CGI mask in Charlie's Death, which was like a reshoot or something like that. And the guy who played Michael had a mask on, and then they decided they were too lazy to like get the right mask, so they just like CGI'd the correct thing over it. It's horrible.
What?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff about that online. As Chris Durand plays Michael Myers this time around. I always end up telling who did that, so I forgot to add him in the credits. So we talked about Michael driving cross country. Just the idea of that. Does he have to stop for snacks? Does he have to buy gas?
Does he have to poop?
Yeah. We know that he has to go to a rest stop because we get that scene.
Yeah, which that completely, that was a devastating blow to the movie.
Yeah.
Because it was completely against his character.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like, oh, Michael doesn't kill kids, but what was he trying to do to Jamie the whole time?
Yeah. And what was he trying to do to what's her face? All of a sudden I can't remember. Oh yeah, Jamie. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
Jamie.
was thinking Jamie Lee Curtis, and I forgot that her name was also Jamie. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah,
did he? Whatever happened? Man, there were so many kills. Her friend didn't die, did he? The boy that was getting chased by the car in that one.
No, he didn't.
Okay,
he did not.
So he never did kill a kid.
No, just teenagers.
Okay.
Yeah, so, because he didn't kill Jamie until she was a teenager.
Yeah, like it. I mean, it would have been super creepy, morbid if he had just killed the mom at the rest stop. But still, at least that would have been his style, Michael's style, that he killed someone instead of just being like, "Ha, I took your keys."
Yeah. Yoink, that's my car. So I guess that maybe that's him not stopping at the gas station. He just steals somebody else's car.
I guess, maybe.
Which, whatever. Do we really need that? Yeah.
But that kind of also brings up another thing that was impacted us. So when this movie started out, I was really kind of excited because I was just like, oh, if the feeling of fall, wet, leaves around, like it felt like fall and Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took it to what, California?
Yeah.
And I
where
was
it's
just
sunny
like,
and looks like summer.
Yeah, and then it was all like the Pueblo style buildings and clay structures and there's a specific word for it. But
weird
then
setting. I don't know why they had to. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis's character was like in hiding and faked her own death, but they had to take it to California, I guess.
I think honestly they probably did that just to make it easy for filming.
Probably cut back on cost.
Yeah, which I mean I kind of get it, but at the same time it just like it. There were no Halloween decorations.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing that made the majority of this movie feel like Halloween. It was just some guy trying to kill other people.
Yeah, and he's very unimposing.
Yeah,
like this didn't feel like Michael.
No, it did not.
It just felt like a dude with a Michael mask on, a really bad Michael mask.
Mm-hmm. And even then,
he wasn't robotic enough.
No, he was too normal. I guess.
It looked like it when they saw him like walking around the shadows. He just looked like some dude just walking down the street.
Yeah, well, it's something with the way like he was like moving his shoulders when he walked. I noticed that in one scene specifically where I was just like, "That's a normal person walking."
Yeah,
there's no acting put forth whatsoever.
No, not at all. Not like Nick Castle in the original. And even Dick Warlock in the second one, they had more where every move that Michael makes is deliberate. It's not there's no like fluidity to how he moves. He's basically just a killing machine, not just some dude on the street walking his dog, which is what this Michael looked like.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even really that big.
No,
You
I
know,
mean,
and like the original Michael wasn't very big either. I mean, he was probably 6 foot tall, but
yeah, I'll give him credit. I'm glad they didn't put like hockey pads on him.
like part 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal. Where it looks like he's shrugging the whole time. Where he's like Jerry Seinfeld doing stand up. What's the deal with Halloween?
What's the deal with airplane food?
I wouldn't know because I drive cross country in one day. Oh man. And then the last thing that really made me laugh, and I texted you about it. This movie is very much the late 90s because after Jamie Lee Curtis cuts Michael's head off and the credits come up and they play that original Halloween theme, which is like the greatest horror movie theme of all time.
Hmm.
For like, they only play it for like 20 seconds and then it gets cut off and then they play What's This Life For by Creed. What's this life for? Just made me laugh. I'm like, oh man, that's totally late 90s.
Oh yeah.
Let's shoehorn some Creed in there. And dude, slasher movies of this era had so much in common with each other. We're talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, Scream, Halloween H20. The cast are all like pretty attractive early 20s playing teenagers. And then like the popular music at the time is pretty present in all those movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's pretty much what I got. I can get into trivia unless you have something else.
No, I mean, I've well, maybe a little bit here. I mean, I've already expressed my kind of disappointment where it was just like it. After I watched this, I just tweeted that this movie was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. It felt different, and just a bunch of stuff was kind of unusual and didn't really fit into all the previous Halloween stuff. But I'll break it down more once we get into final grades and everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a weird one.
Yeah. So trivia. The one thing that it's like the coolest part of this movie. So there's a scene where Norma is talking to Laurie and she says she's going to give her like motherly advice. Did you know that's Jamie Lee Curtis's mom?
Nope, no idea.
Yeah, Janet Leigh was Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, and she was in the movie Psycho. And what's interesting about this scene is she gets into this old car, which is the exact same car that she drove in the movie Psycho, and the music from Psycho plays in the background.
I did
And
not.
even the car even has the same license plate.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's how you do like a reference, an homage to a movie
Mm-hmm.
is to have that kind of stuff and have it be a little bit subtle, like recognizable, but not like crazy in your face.
Yeah, no bad puns where it's just like, if you don't take time for yourself, you're going to go psycho.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so the line where LL Cool J says "comb your hair" to John, that was totally ad libbed because of Josh Hartnett's messy hair. So John Carpenter was originally in negotiations to be the director since Jamie Lee Curtis wanted the entire cast to like reunite.
Mm-hmm.
It was believed that Carpenter opted out because he wanted no active part in the sequel. However, this was not the case. He actually agreed to direct the movie, but his starting fee as director was $10 million. And he wanted a 3-picture deal with Dimension Films. He rationalized it by saying the hefty fee was in compensation for the revenue that he never received for the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a matter that was like still a point of contention between him and Mustafa Akkad, who was the producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Akkad and Dimension Films kind of balked on Carpenter's demands and he walked away from the project.
Yeah. I can't blame him for that. I get it.
Yeah, like it makes sense. So LL Cool J was actually thrilled to be involved in the movie because he was a huge fan of the original one. He said that his mother actually took him to see that in the theater when he was 9 years old.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because I don't remember how old I was when I watched Child's Play. So it was like the first quote unquote scary movie that I remember watching. But yeah, it's kind of funny. So before he knew that Jamie Lee Curtis was involved, Josh Hartnett wasn't sure he wanted to be in the movie because he said, and I quote, Halloween 7, is that going straight to video or is it going to go straight to hell? So during the credits in the prologue, Dr. Loomis's dialogue from the first film about Michael's incarceration is heard.
Mm-hmm.
The studio was actually unable to retrieve the unmixed audio from the original scene, and they were forced to use a voice actor named Tom Kane to imitate Donald Pleasance.
I noticed it wasn't him.
Yeah. Yeah. That I probably wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't watched all the movies before that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Within a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So Janet Leigh's, this is her first feature film in 18 years. Her previous, last feature film was The Fog, which was also starring Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay.
So the original working title for the movie was Halloween 7, The Revenge of Laurie Strode, which, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
But then they gave it that goofy Halloween H20, Halloween water. So this is the shortest movie in the series at 1 hour, 26 minutes long.
Yeah, I thought it was short.
Yeah, for sure. So Jamie Lee Curtis recalls that Josh Hartnett was someone who wanted to be an actor but didn't want the trappings of stardom. She said that he would wear a knit beanie on set at all times, remove it to film the scene, and then immediately return it to his head as a way of retaining his personality. She said that she respected him for it. It was annoying, but she respected him for it. So maybe that's why his hair was always so messy.
I guess.
Which was a style at the time.
Well, funny thing is, we're continuing with our Harrison Ford theme. When we're recording this, we just did some Harrison Ford episodes, and he was in a movie with him, Hollywood Homicide, that we talked about. So,
right.
I was like, oh yeah, connecting the dots.
He doesn't do very much anymore. I don't know if it's a choice or what.
Well,
I was never bad.
I was actually just looking at his stuff, and he's got a decent amount of stuff since 2019. But it's all like TV stuff, or most of it is. So yeah, I'm not familiar with anything that
maybe he's just really selective of what he does.
Yeah.
So the next thing I got here is Jamie Lee Curtis and Steve Miner. They wanted a scene where Laurie does a double take when she thinks she sees Michael Myers. But it's actually Mike Myers that walks by.
Oh my gosh.
And actually Mike Myers turned that down.
Oh, come on.
I know. I've heard before that he is extremely difficult to work with. Mike Myers is, which he never comes off as that kind of person when he's in movies, but I hear he's really kind of a jerk, like with directors.
But dude, that would have been the easiest little simple thing to do and would have been so amazing.
Yeah, like it would have been hilarious if he was dressed like Wayne. Like, have you ever seen that that drawing that somebody did online where they replaced Michael Myers from famous scenes in Halloween with characters that Mike Myers played?
I think I may have seen some of those.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious! Like the part where he's in the first movie where Michael is busting through the closet door, like he's dressed up as Wayne Campbell from Wayne's World. It's hilarious. I'll have to see if I can find that and post it on their Twitter. But the last one I got, just because I always like to see the money part of it. This movie cost $17 million and it made $55 million in the box office, which makes it the third highest grossing Halloween movie. So let's dive into grades. Pulled from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes like usual. What do you think those are?
IMDb 4.2.
It is a 5.8.
Oh wow. Really? Hmm.
And then Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think those are?
Critic, let's give it a 40%.
It is a 52. Fairly
What in the
close.
world?
Yeah. But then the audience,
Audience, let's go 58%.
it is a 49.
Oh, geez, man.
Yeah, the critic was higher than the audience.
That's a rare occurrence.
Yeah. So do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Um, I'll let you go first.
Okay. So this was one of the, this is, I guess, by default would be the first movie of the series that I saw not too long after it came out because I rented it. I was just really starting to get into horror at the time, and so this came out at the right time for me. Um, I think I probably mentioned it before on this show that I really, really liked I Know What You Did Last Summer when I was in like seventh, or not seventh grade, maybe like sixth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And, this came out right around that time. So it would have been like 98, something like that. Um, so yeah, I rented it, I watched it. So it was it's probably the second Halloween movie that I saw after the first one. And, I really liked it. And I guess I've watched it a couple times since then. Each time, I guess it's not as memorable as it was the time before. That being said, I don't think it's the worst in the series. I think it's actually one of the better ones. And I like the way the ending was handled. I like that Laurie came back and she was able to like take out Michael. And if they would have ended the series here with that, I would have been fine with it. And of course, they just couldn't do that. This made too much money, and they got greedy and had to make another one.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that next time. But I don't know. I think if you would have asked me years ago what I would give this, I'd give it a higher grade. But now I think it kind of falls in the middle of the road where I give it a 3 out of 5. There's a lot of things I like about it, and then other things are just so much a product of the late 90s. I mentioned the Creed song, um, the characters. There's really no like super likable characters other than Laurie,
Mm-hmm.
and even she's pretty flawed. I think that strengthens her character, like showing that she's traumatized by what happened.
Yeah.
But and she is the one you root for. She is the whole purpose of this movie, and it's a shame that it takes too long to get there. And I don't think they really needed like the teenagers in it, other than to appeal to their demographic. How about you?
Yeah, it was it was unusual. I was not really overly impressed with this. I was kind of looking forward to it, looking forward to Jamie Lee Curtis coming back and everything. But as I said, it was weird. It just did not feel like Halloween. As we mentioned, Michael was not, there was no really acting, it appeared like, put into the character of Michael. The mask didn't help anything. Actually, didn't mention this before, but I wanted to. The strongest part of this movie, outside of Laurie cutting off Michael's head, was the part where um, Michael was trying to get um, Laurie's son and his girlfriend, but they were behind that gate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like, just out of reach. And he's like swinging the knife at him and everything. And
Yeah,
then
that was
he's,
reminiscent of part 2 for sure.
yeah. And so that was a cool element. But outside of that, I mean, just so much where it's just like, I don't know. It wasn't very well thought out. It didn't set up very well because the beginning cold intro was good, but then everything after that kind of fell apart. You went to California, so it was warm. There was no sense of Halloween. I mean, they talked about it, but there were no decorations. There was no trick or treating, nothing like that. There was no like Halloween party. He didn't kill the person at the rest stop. Just all these things where it's just like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
And so I was just genuinely thrown off by it, and it felt weird. I wanted to go as far as just putting it at a 2 again. I've been on a streak of giving it 2. I am going to give it 2.5, kind of mainly from the attribute of Jamie Lee Curtis and, you know, the finale and the big you know, resolution between Laurie and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was really close to even just leaving this at a 2 again, because it was just, I don't know. I mean, this along with the last 2 movies, they've just felt off in their own different ways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I could agree with that. I'll say that one thing that I also respect about Jamie Lee Curtis is that she embraces that she was in Halloween. Um, a lot of like famous actors who did slasher movies back in the day almost want to like not talk about it. Paul Rudd is one of them. But I mean, he did such a terrible job in
can't blame him.
in the last movie that, you know, I wouldn't want to talk about it either.
It's funny
It,
because have you ever thought about like if you ever saw a celebrity and what you would say and how it'd be funny to like yell out their least impressive movie?
yeah.
Be like, "Oh, dude, you're the guy from Halloween 6."
Did I ever tell you the time that I tweeted Jason Alexander?
You
Like it
may
was
have.
years ago. Because he's in the slasher movie called The Burning,
Mm-hmm.
which was obscure for a while and it started to get like more of a cult following to it. Um, and it was like really one of his early roles. And I tweeted him, I was like, hey, you were great in The Burning. And he just wrote back to me, he's like, hey, you're crazy. But um, yeah, and he's another one too that he's not embarrassed that he was in it. Uh, you know, other famous actors like Johnny Depp, he doesn't ever really talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. Kevin Bacon doesn't really talk about Friday the 13th too much.
Matthew
And
McConaughey.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Next Generation.
Wait, on Jennifer
Brad
Aniston.
Pitt. Oh yeah, Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Um, Brad Pitt in Cutting Class.
Oh,
But the
jeez.
Jennifer Aniston one's funny because my wife and I recently just watched the Friends reunion, and they were talking about the casting of the characters, and I was like, I wonder if they casted Jennifer Aniston because they really liked her job in the Leprechaun movie.
Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. That we had watched that too, so
uh,
I am familiar with you talking about the casting part. So good old Leprechaun.
is there anything else you want to say about Halloween H2O?
Uh, I don't think so. It was kind of really cut and dry, you know, really short, not a lot. It was very contained instance where I feel like there was that ominous feeling with the other ones where, you know, Michael's walking through a residential area
Mm-hmm.
killing people, and here it was at a school where there were only 7 people, so it's just like, oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Um, that's kind of how feel about it now too, especially after watching it like right after watching the other ones.
mhm.
And like I said, it's definitely a late '90s movie, and that's kind of how a lot of them were at the time. Um, but yeah, I guess I got a last thing here, kind of like a bonus trivia thing. Just kind of an interesting fact I saw here. So it's called Halloween H2O. Everybody knows, like, you know, H2O is uh, water.
Mhm.
This was 20 years later after Halloween. It's the 7th Halloween movie, and actually, water actually has a pH level by default of 7.
Oh, yay.
So it works on 2 levels.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. So can we just stop here and then maybe skip ahead to Halloween 2018?
Oh,
I'm fine with that. We're gonna dig down into the bowels of this series, down into crappy bowels. And next time we're going to be talking about the sequel to this, Halloween Resurrection. So look
that
forward
sounds
to that.
amazing.
Yeah. How are they going to bring Michael back? You'll see, and it's terrible. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.